that's the kind of guy I am, always trying to save money all the time and help people also do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't get my rundown. I am actually a real estate investor as well. So real estate investor, and then really big when it comes to credit cards, the usage of credit cards, how we can use credit cards and credit card rewards in order to level up in our life. And so that's another thing that we're going to make sure we connect this information back to everything that Professor Boulware is going to talk to us about today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. We are also live on Facebook, but what they'll be able to see is just us three. So that's myself, Terry, and Professor Boulware. So if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat so that we can make sure we answer your questions. And our mission is just to make sure that we are equipping people with the ability to have an increased money mindfulness and awareness. So without further ado, Professor Boulware, we're going to pass it over to you and allow you to take the stage, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you, Reese. Terry, nice to meet you. I don't know if we've met before. Thanks everybody for showing up. Lots of extra credit floating around, but I hope it's going to be worth it. Worth it anyway. When Reese came to see me, she was talking about the program and how they wanted to bring professors from different disciplines to partake in this, so students would get a wide range of opinions and expertise and all that kind of stuff. So I was very happy to do it because financial literacy is a big part. But then I was trying to find some direct connections between financial literacy and what I've been doing for the last 30 years at CJ, and there were no direct ones. So I said, let me go to my other life and see what I can come up with that might be helpful to students. So as I reflect back on a full career as a private attorney in Boston, my clients came to see me basically regarding money for 5 separate reasons. One reason is they wanted to sue somebody. Another reason is because they were being sued by somebody. Okay. The other one was it was a criminal matter. They were accused of some sort of property crime, like theft or robbery or something like that. The big one, I think, for a lot, one of my favorites, is they came to see me because they wanted to legitimately make money in all of the ways from starting their own business to real estate investment to buying a house or whatever it is that they felt like they would need some legal counsel to make some legitimate money. And then the last group is those groups who had been ripped off. And they wanted to find out, was there any remedy for that? And I said, that would be interesting to tell people about some of the multi-level marketing and scams and schemes and Ponzi stuff that's out there, just as a caveat, because, you know, a fool and their money is, you know, often departed. So I think being aware of some of these scams and things that are going on out here is an important kind of thing for you to know, because bottom line, most of them, there is no legal remedy if you get ripped off. So I was going to tell you about a few, but I think what they all have in common is the people who get burned are exhibiting lots and lots of greed and lots of stupidity. So and all of us have that in different doses. I was going to start my storytelling with something that recently happened to me. I'm not immune. I get ripped off just like the rest of us. But it's crazy. I guess my disclaimer is some of the things I might be describing to you might sound interesting. I would just say, don't try this at home, okay? If you think about it. So I want everybody, as I start talking about some of these stories, I want you to think about situations that you have been in, and think about the times that you have been scammed. I refuse to believe that any young adult or above has gone through life without being scammed once. So everybody's been scammed on some level. My most recent one was believing an ad that I saw online. I was looking for a sofa bed, and all the ones I had looked at live were like $700-800. I went online and this ad popped up. I don't know, I was playing a game or something, or Google, whatever, and it had this, just what I was looking for like $150. So I figured, hey, it's on the internet. They wouldn't let it on the internet if it wasn't legit. So I did the thing. I ordered it, and they said it was going to be there in 7 to 10 days. 10 days went by, and I don't know, maybe the COVID was just hitting, so everything was kind of crazy. So I waited another 10 days, and I called, and someone actually answered the phone and says, oh, we're just backed up here. You should be getting it soon. And that was the last I heard from them. And it was too late to stop payment on the check, on the credit card bill. So I got burned. So and that happened within the last year or so. And like I said, most of the time, there is no legal remedy for this. So I was going to kind of go through a couple of these. Now, these are actual cases that I was involved in, where an actual human being came to me, explained to me what happened, and said, what can I do? The first one is kind of a play on an investment club, which sounded so intriguing to me because I had never heard of it until this client came to talk to me. 10 people get together. In this particular case, like 7 of them knew each other, and 3 were kind of brought in. And the deal was, none of this was in writing, it was all on faith. Every member, all of those 10 people would put in $100 a week of their own money. Okay, so it'd be $1,000 a week, and in 10 weeks they would have a drawing, and whoever's name came out would get $10,000 in cash. Now the understanding was that you would continue to play the game until everybody had gotten paid. So once you got paid once, your name got eliminated from being choice. So theoretically, within 2 years, you were going to have a lump. You would have put in $10,000, but putting in $100 a week and coming up with 10,000 right in one thing worked out. So my client had been part of this operation. She was brought in by people who all knew each other. And that's why she thought maybe I could do something. And she knew of them. One of them was kind of her friend. And she faithfully put in $100 a week for over a year. Her name was never drawn, but she says, I know I'm going to get my $10,000 somewhere. And then 7 people out of the 10 who had already won stopped paying. The game fell apart. She was out $5,200. So she came to see me and said, they ripped me off at $5,200. What can I do? But theoretically, that sounds like a good one. Now, I don't know, these things, that's one story. So don't get involved in investment clubs that especially work by word of mouth. There are some really legit ones out there. There's some that advertise online that you can become part of, because it's easier to maybe Reese or Terry know something about these investment clubs, because there are many legit ones, but these underground ones, you got to be kind of careful about. The last one I was going to tell you about, I have several other stories, but I want to see if you have any questions or want to share one of your stories with us. Has to do, and this is very controversial, but if you've ever been involved, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about, because it's another one of those scams that sounds good on paper, but almost everybody loses, and there's so few legal remedies. And maybe this was really popular when I was coming up, and 15, 20 years ago. I think it played out and so many people got burned that they don't do a lot of it anymore. It's called multi-level marketing. Has anybody ever been involved in multi-level marketing? The first company that I knew of, and this man's either daughter or wife used to be the Secretary of Education. Their name was DeVos, and they made about $1 billion on something called Amway, and I'm not sure Amway is still out there, but and it works for almost any product or service. And what the deal is you have one person who is the distributor. The one who makes the money is the person who comes up with the idea and has the service or product to sell. He recruits, say, 5 people that are going to be distributors, okay? And he takes, say, listen, whatever you sell, you can keep 20% for yourself. Give me 10%, and then the rest of it will pay for the product. They all do it, so they do $1,000 a week. What they do is then recruit 4 other people each, okay? And each of those people try to come up with $1,000 each, and everybody up the pyramid makes a percentage. And as the tree grows, and it doesn't take long to get to 2,000 or 3,000 people, the guy at the top is making the most amount of money. He's making a lot of money. So the reason that the first ones kind of fell apart is because in order to continuously be eligible for your cut, you had to sell a minimum amount of product or services a week. So what you would try to do to stay active as a distributor, if you were short that month or that week, you'd spend your own money. And I know people who had garage full of Amway products to try to do it. So the more recent ones have taken that out of it, and they multi-level market services. And so you don't have to keep any inventory to do it. So if these become popular again, and someone approaches you about becoming a distributor and owning your own business without putting any money down, be careful, okay? So there's just, the scams. That one I call the Tacoma, one I call the Tacoma scam. I was looking, when I first moved out here from Boston, I was looking for a house to rent, okay? So my wife, who lived here, started looking in the ads, and she saw this like 2-bedroom little bungalow house. I think it was over in North Tacoma somewhere, that was for rent for $700 a month. Said, there must be junk. Let me go look at it. So we drove over there, and it was a very nice house and yard around it. The doors were locked, but we happened to see that it was for sale. The people who were renting it did not own it, did not have access to it. So they say, listen, you send us the first month's rent, and we'll get the keys to you. And people were paying them money, and there was nothing for them to rent. It's the first time I'd seen that scam. But always, as you probably know, never give any identifying information to anybody you don't know. If you are going to give someone financial information over the phone, make sure you're the one who initiated the contact. There's no situation where someone called you and asked you for credit card numbers or social security numbers where you should give it up. Never. I can't think of any situation where someone reaches out to you and wants personal or financial information about you. So some advice there, some traps you can get caught in, and remembering there's very few remedies, and what they all have in common is greed and stupidity. When you think you can get something for nothing. A couple of other stories: receiving stolen goods. That's a hard one to deal with, especially when, you know who they get? They get the ones who think they're street savvy. It's not a good thing. I would like somebody, if this is allowed, Reese, is to have somebody volunteer to tell, if they're not too embarrassed, they can fictionalize it a little bit, about a scam, a scheme, a Ponzi scheme, or any kind of hustle where they got burned and what happened.
Yeah, if anybody wants to, I don't mind sharing, but if anybody wants to raise their hand as far as like using their virtual raise a hand or raise their physical hand, I will definitely allow you to turn your mic off and you can share your story. If not, I can definitely share some of my thoughts on what you just said as well. So I'll give our audience the chance. I don't see any hands yet.
I think it's real
Okay, I
hard
got
to
one.
get. You got
Gavin,
somebody?
go ahead.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I think as like a freshman year, something I bought like a pack of stickers. There's like 300 of them, right? And what I'd do is I'd get my friends to sell them, but they'd have to pay me first the dollar for 4 of them, and then they could sell them for $2. So I basically created a nice little pyramid scheme where I'm making the money. I didn't get burned, but other people did.
So you're admitting that you burn people.
You didn't tell me, you didn't make money.
Okay. All right.
He was providing a convenience to them as, because everybody needs to make a profit on what they're selling. So, he came up with a business plan, started early. And, my son actually did that too. At his school, they eliminated sodas. And so he started bringing Mountain Dews in his bag and was selling Mountain Dews for $1 at lunch. And, he's probably paying 50 cents for them, and so, yeah, anytime there's a need for something, somebody with an entrepreneurial spirit will find a way to capitalize on it. And so that's just an example.
Right. And I agree. I mean, let's not confuse being scammed or scamming someone with good entrepreneurship. To see a legitimate business opportunity and taking advantage of it, even in terms of making money, buying the Mountain Dew for 50 cents and selling it for $3. If someone's willing to pay $3, they call that free market. That there's nothing illegal or wrong with that, but setting up someone to burn them is not a nice thing to do.
So
right. Go ahead, Reed.
There's a lot here that we've uncovered, right, already within the first 15 minutes, and I think it's really interesting because you hear the word, and I think somebody just threw this in the chat, the pyramid was something, that you thought that you capitalized on it and got burned. And here's where I think, Professor Boulware, where your thought is coming in of generally they're created to burn people. It's not necessarily created out of an entrepreneurial spirit to help other people or to allow themselves to come up and also provide a good product for others. And so I will say, when I was in college, I participated in probably like 2. And because what happens is college students, we're easy prey. Why? Because people know that we're probably broke. We need some money. They know that our minds are still malleable. So they want to be able to try to market to us and say, hey, all you got to do is get 3 of your friends. And I was a women's basketball player. So all you got to do is get 3 of your teammates. And some of my teammates actually got in on this. What happens is they invite you to an event, and the event is live. It's exciting. They probably have free food. And then all you got to do is just show up, and they're telling you all about this. They have people up there in fancy suits, and they're saying, yo, here's our business. And mine was, it was called ACN. And it had to do with electronics and like Wi-Fi and TV and and all this different types of stuff. So all you have to do, this is stuff that people do all the time, right? Buy a cell phone, sign them up for Sprint. And then once they do this, and all they have to do is they're already doing it. They just need to do it through you. And if they do it through you, then you get the money, but then you got to go get 2 or 3 more friends. And so we're thinking as college students, I have friends, I have family, I have people who I know can be a part of this. And so you write down a list of all the people that you know. Then you start making all these phone calls and sending these emails and text messages. Hey, I just started a new business. And you're not even really a real business because you never started an LLC or signed up for anything that way. But you're in college, you're like, yes, this is amazing. And then you tell them, no, dang it. They're like, oh, I just got direct TV. Oh man, you should have gone through me. Next time you do it, make sure you give me a call, then I can set you up. And that was my experience. I know that was the experience of a lot of my teammates. And what's interesting about it is it never went anywhere. None of us ended up making a bunch of money or even any money. And it's alluring because we're college students and we're college student athletes and we want to be able to make money. And it's easy for people to target us in this age range because of that. And so there are a bunch that are still out there, but they've probably shifted the way that they're doing it. And again, with me being in real estate, there are real estate scams everywhere that will even just try to get you to buy their products, as far as buy my product and I can teach you how to wholesale. And then they're going to,
That's where the scams
right?
are.
And wholesaling is one of the biggest scams that are out there. And it's like, get into real estate and make tens of thousands of dollars without having to even put any money in. You want to learn how to sell, be a real estate investor with no money? This is how you can do it. And so it's really important to make sure that you're having conversations with people who really care about you and your best interest at heart, and running your ideas by them before you put your time and your money into those efforts.
Yeah, Reese, that's those are good examples, and I'll give you a few that I kind of went through over the years. And there's been vacation plans that you can get to. You go, or those timeshares. Everybody's heard of timeshares. There's even commercials now you hear will get you out of your timeshare, and so what you see is like, hey, you get a free vacation to Las Vegas. To 2 people, 2 nights, 3 days, whatever, and just come to listen to the 90-minute presentation. Okay. Well, let me tell you, I've been to many of those presentations, and I'll listen, but you got to really put your foot down, because it's the heaviest sales pressure you'll ever encounter. I've been able to take those vacations. I went to both Vegas and to Whistler up in Canada, and took advantage of that. But let me tell you, one of those times I actually bought it. I couldn't leave the place, because they said I could go for like $3,500. If I paid $3,500 now, I could have vacations for the rest of my life. You just sign up and get on this list and do all this stuff, and you pay up front, and something I was able to get out of that 3 days after I signed it. I came home, I came to my senses, the sales pressure was done. I was thinking, what the heck did I just sign up for? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, look, doing the math and going, I'm not going to be going these places and all this kind of stuff. And so I was able to get out of that one. But let me tell you, the amount of sales pressure, if one guy is failing to sell you on it, he'll somebody else will come and take over, and then he'll leave and the other guy will take over. And because he's been listening and he's trying to capitalize on whatever fear you might have, he's going to fix that fear. Yeah. Like vampires. I mean, they're just everywhere around trying to sell you before you leave. But I did go a few times where I had that first experience, and never again did I sign up, but I did certainly take advantage of their free trip. I ain't gonna lie. And so you just have to know the game, and you need to know that you're going there not to buy anything, because it is a scam. And so you really, really got to, be knowledgeable about what you're getting yourself into without getting into it, if that makes sense. And use, if they're going to give you some free samples, as long as you don't have to pay for anything, don't pay for it, that type of deal. And we have had students get involved. I've had students get involved in things like this. One just recently, she's selling this liquid vitamins and stuff, and I can't even remember what it is, but she worked at the Apple store and made pretty good money at the Apple store. But she quit the Apple store because she said she's making more money selling liquid vitamins and stuff and whatnot. And that's fine, but don't think of it as you're going to be the one that makes all the money, because like Richard said, it's the people who started who make all the money. At the end of the day, you're not going to be any farther along than if you just worked at Fred Meyer. Okay. You're going to sell their product. You're going to sell it to your friends. You're going to make some money, and you're going to be able to go to the movies and buy some food, but you're not going to go buy 3 houses because of all the vitamins you sold. So just keep that in mind, that's pretty rare that you're going to move that far up the chain, that you're going to have some wonderful change in lifestyle that you're going to be able to buy that mansion. So anyway, they do put that out there to get you hooked to sign up and start selling their product, but don't fall for that. If you want to use the product because you like the vitamins, go for it. But just know that that's only a side hustle at very best, and know that there's better ways to make money than selling in a multi-level marketing tier. Anybody else? Reese, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say I'm really big on, I'm a vacation head. I love to travel. I've been to 26 countries in all 50 states. So I do a lot of that, one by credit cards, which is stuff we'll talk about in the future. But just on one of my past vacations, I will literally go on their tours, because they'll say, hey, what, come on this tour, we'll show you our timeshare, we'll have breakfast for you, and then we'll give you rewards. But because I know the game, I know how to play the game. And it's really similar, the same strength that it takes you to be able to either play this game and get the reward is the same with utilizing credit cards and rewards, is the same when you're going to a car dealership and not allowing them to hustle you, is the same in every other space. So because I've exercised this muscle so much, I know that I'm not going to get tricked off my block when I go do these things. I know that I'm going to be the one that comes up and I'm really playing them. So I know they're going to bring the manager and then the next manager and then the next manager. And I'm going to be like, no, I'm good. I got my free breakfast. I got my free lunch. And then I got all 3 excursions. I will give you 3 hours of my day to save me $300 in the long run. And I did this in Mexico. And then I spent my next 3 days off of their dime and I got free food. So I understand that that is a bigger picture to how you're able to utilize this, but I feel like this is important to know because oftentimes it does sound like a great idea. Wow, it's so cheap, especially when it comes to timeshares. In the long run, it doesn't end up being as good of a deal as what you initially think it is, because there's so much more than what we could speak to right now in this session. But there are ways, if you go on a vacation and you know that you are strong with your no and you have strong discipline, but you want to be able to actually reap the reward from it, do it. And just say, no, we're not, but I will take the reward. And I've made money. I went to Orlando and they gave me $100 and then a couple tickets to a couple parks. Like, right, I did my part. I came up, I showed up, got my free meal, got my rewards, deuces. But then there are also times if you know that you're going to get suckered in and you don't have that discipline, I don't advise it, because you'll fool around and sign something and leave and go, what did I just do? And you might forget. And so it's really important, like I said, to develop that responsibility and discipline before you even put yourself in the game in the first place.
Right. That's not just, that's not just true of timeshares, but everything. You got to do what they call in the law, your due diligence to find out what you're doing. But I just want to warn people, they have taken pressure marketing to a whole new level. You know, you could go into that situation saying, I don't care what they offer me, you know, because at the end, they'll make it sound like they're giving it to you for free. And that's why they passed those 3-day laws, right? That you can sign anything, but you have 3 days and you can change your mind. So hopefully you come back to your senses by the time you get home or before the 3 days is up. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. You know, the Nigerian prince one. Anybody ever received a call from a guy's a Nigerian prince and he has $10 million, but he can't get it in the United States and he'll give you $1 million, but he needs 1,000 just to work through the legal matters and get the 10 million here. And the little ladies, they will send the money.
And two to look out for, Terry just brought up Apple, and what you just said, Professor, is really good, is Apple. I've literally had students and people that I know get scammed via Apple. And so it's really important for you to know your stuff. I feel like we assume and we think people should know this. We assume and think people should be aware and would know not to give out your information. But how often are you guys actually in conversations with people who are telling you not to do this stuff, who actually have your best interest in mind? And so I know students who have gotten scammed by fake Apple people saying that their Apple, what's that called? Like your Apple system, basically what your card and stuff was, Apple Music subscription or something was messed up. And what happened was they end up getting into their account and pretty much stealing all their money that way. So Professor said this at the top, do not give out your information. Banks and stuff are starting to increase that, especially with what's going on with people stealing information that much more rapidly. Yeah, the Apple scam is real. Do not give out your info. The IRS is not going to call you and say, hey, Anita, we need your information. They know your information. They would need, right? Like, so it's only if you are going to call a bank and they have to take you through a verification process. More times than not, nobody will ever just call you and say, we need your info. And then So I would advise this is set up notifications. So what I mean by that is set up notifications with all your bank accounts, whether that be email, or I highly advise text message, because we probably see those more. And sometimes it could be annoying because you might be getting text messages and you're like, I feel overwhelmed, or it could stop a specific purchase. But I'd rather have my bank hit me up and make sure that it was me than they just allow things to go through and then I don't know. And I run a business and I just tried to resubscribe to something for my business, and my bank hit me up in the middle of the night. We just want to make sure this was you. And I'm like, gosh darn it. So it takes more effort on my part, but I'd rather my account not be hacked and them not notify me. And then at the end of the day, I'm upset because now all my cash is gone. And so turn on your notifications, turn them on via text, so that way your bank can stay up to date with you. And that actually just shows good practice on your bank's part as well.
Well, one of the things, if I ever get invited back, my next presentation is going to be on identity theft. That's a nasty, nasty thing to happen. But this is one of my other messages. As you see these scams coming up and you've been getting these weird phone calls, or you're getting texts or whatever, share it with your family and friends so they don't get burned. You know what I mean? Whatever you get out of today's presentation that says, yeah, go out and tell your parents, your little brother, your next door neighbor. You don't want anybody to get burned. So really spread the message about anything that can encourage people to do their due diligence and not let their greed and stupidity take over.
One of the things I like to, go ahead, Terry. One of the things I like to do, there's a lot of people, like we've talked about, that are calling and they're from some legit thing like the IRS, or from the Windows, whatever, Apple, whatever it is. I'm going to tell you what I do now is, if I'm busy, obviously I don't entertain this, but I actually play along and have a little fun with it. And you can just make some, jokes and stuff, so to speak, inside jokes, so they don't get, you could just kind of waste their time is what I like doing. I like wasting their time because then they're not scamming anybody else, and I'm having a little fun for 5 minutes too. You know what I'm saying? If you want a little entertainment, you can record it and put that on your Instagram and get everybody laughing and stuff. But sure enough, they ask me questions. I'm like, oh, my Windows. Oh, no. Are you serious? My Windows is infected. Oh, my gosh, you got to help me. And then they're like, okay, sir. Okay, log into Windows. And of course, I'm not even on my computer. Okay, I'm logged in. Okay, what do I do now? Okay, what's your and I just, give them this fake stuff. And I just, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm so glad you're here to save the day. And I just do all kinds of weird, funny things like that, just to, play along. And I'm sure some of you are probably even more funny than I am and can even and get it. Now, one time and this was actually probably in the last 2 months, I just didn't want to play along a whole lot. And so what I did right from the beginning, I says, why are you, I said, what are you going to do with your life? Or I said, what are you doing with your life? Or why are you doing this? And he goes, yeah, what are you going to do with your life? He says, well, I'm just scamming people. He actually legitimately told me he was here to scam people. And I just kind of laughed and said, all right, man, whatever. And then he hung up, and so, they're people too. They know they're scamming people. So, goof around, be straight up with them and ask them why they're scamming people, whatever you want to do. But certainly don't give them any information.
So I'm the type of chick that hangs up as soon as possible. Because I don't have time to be playing with nobody on the phone. So the second something comes through, and there's one that comes through that's like, hi, is this? And it's like a random voice. And the second I know that it's not, but I have to answer the phone because I get calls from people that I don't know. So I can't turn on, like iPhones have this way where you can like have if you don't have the number saved, it doesn't come through. But that doesn't work for me in business because people are hitting me up whose number I don't have saved. So I'll answer it. And the second I know that it's somebody I don't know, I automatically hang up, because there's also scams now where they're able to track your information when you're on the phone for a long time. And so there's so many different things out there right now, which sucks because it seems scary that we can't even pick up our phone. Somebody's phone is ringing right now. That's funny. So that's just something else to think of, is just making sure that Definitely, right. Have fun with it. I think there's that piece. Like Terry probably could have changed that man's life around. I believe he would have stayed on the phone with Terry much longer. He would have got him signed up for classes because that's how good Terry is. But for somebody else, I think it was Tiana. Like, yeah, I'm outro. I don't have the space or the time. I'm hanging up. And now my phone will actually say scam likely. I'm like, cool. Thank you. I didn't even have to pick up the phone. Thank you, iPhone, for being the best assistant out there.
You know, getting people, and Richard said something about this, make sure you do your due diligence and know what you're getting yourself into. And I want to just give you an example of one thing I did. You know, I was buying a car, and it was at a car lot. And of course, I don't know a whole lot about the lingo and how this whole thing works. And so I did go and I test drove the car, and I got this car down to as lowest price as I thought I could get it down to. And so I just didn't feel like I was fully there. I think, you know what, I'm sure there's more I can get this car down to. I just don't know how to do it. So I went over to another car lot and I pulled up, and a guy came out and he said, "Hey, you looking for a car?" I said, "Yeah, I think I found one." He says, and he said, "Cool." He said, "Do you want me to see anything here?" He's like, "Actually, what I would really like you to do is come with me and act like you're my cousin, and we're going to go into the car lot, and I want you to help me get this price down even lower than what I already got it to. I've already got it down to this price. For every $100 you save me on top of this price, I will give you $25. So I save 75 and he earns 25. He goes, "Let me go tell my boss I'm going to lunch." So he goes and tells his boss he's leaving. He comes back, he gets in my car. We drive over there. I'm getting to know him. And his name was John Michael, and he was my cousin, you know. And so we show up, and first thing he does is offer this really low amount, like $3,000. It was ridiculous. And so the guy's like, "Well, I can't do that." And he's like, "Well, hey, by law, you have to go present that offer and write it up. You know, I'm offering you money." So he like knew what to do. And so he went to present that to his boss, and then he went to like 3,500. He was just really, you know, knew what to say and what to do, and was telling them what to do and everything. So finally, this guy comes back in and he rumples up the offer. He throws it over our heads and looks at me and says, "What are you paying him to do this?" I'm like, "I'm not paying him nothing. This is my cousin." And so we get up and we leave. He tells me, he said, "Let's go." So we get up and we leave. And he'd already gotten it down by about $1,000 already. And I'm thinking, this guy is already good. So we get up to leave, and I'm thinking we're leaving. And he says, "Just follow me." So we walk by, we go out, and the guys didn't stop him. We walk into the area where the boss is. I follow him. We walk right past everybody to go back to the manager in the back. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we are going to get thrown out of this place. We almost got thrown out, you know? So we go back there. And he goes, "Hey, are you the sales manager?" And he says, "Yes, I am." He says, "Who are you guys? How can I help you?" Because we just kind of walked in. And we said, "We're here to see the Mazda." And the guy leans back a little bit and goes, "Oh, you're the Mazda boys." And because, you know, he'd been coming back with these offers. And he then had a conversation with him at a much higher level than I would have had with anybody with vehicles. And he was able to then negotiate even less. So I got it like $2,000 cheaper, which I thought he'd never do. On top of that, he asked for a gas card. So, and I didn't even know that existed, but you can actually ask for a gas voucher, a one-time voucher that you use at a gas station to go fill your car. So he even asked for that. So when we bought it, he drove my car. We went and filled up my car full of gas. We went back to my house, dropped my car off. I took him back to work. And so, hey, if you don't know somebody in the business to help you out, you got to hire somebody in the business to help you out. And that's what I did. And then I paid him his like $400 there, and he was happy. And I was super happy.
And that is exactly why, I don't know if you guys saw the flyer or not. That's exactly why Terry is Mr. Old Money and I'm Miss New Money, is because that's stuff that you could do when you're an older white guy. You can go hire friends to help you out. So we have now entered our Q&A session.
I was young at that time, by the way. That was back in the day.
But now you got stories like that. I don't for hire stories at this moment. But if you guys have any questions, so right now you have in front of you 3 people who are well versed in a lot of different areas when it comes to finances. And so I encourage you either to raise your hand, throw a question in the chat if it has anything to do with real estate, credit. We just talked about identity theft, cars, anything that you feel like you would love to ask. Please, like I said, either raise your hand or throw the question in the chat, and then we will give our best opinions on that.
As you're typing there, I'll just tell you, credit cards hate me, and they hate Reese too. Reese and I pay our credit cards off in full at the end of the month, for one, and two, we use the credit cards that have the most cash back. And so that's one thing, one way to utilize credit cards for a little extra cash is using those. Like, I'll say to my wife, okay, the next 3 months, we got to use the Chase Visa because it's 5% off at grocery stores. And then next month, we got to use this Visa there because of 5% at the gas station or whatever. Questions in the chat. We got, what are some opinions on affiliate marketing? And then, do the scammer eventually get caught, and what are they doing? Well, as far as scammers,
I'll read them off, Terry. We got one before that. So somebody asked something about taxes. Can you throw that back in the chat and elaborate a little bit? And then I'm gonna throw it actually to you, Professor Boer. What are your opinions on affiliate marketing?
And define what you mean by affiliate marketing.
Okay, yep. Somebody throw that question back in there. Terry, I'll go back off of what you were just saying when it comes to credit cards is, and Terry and I say this every episode, credit card companies hate us. And the reason why is because we exercise responsibility, discipline, and we know the game. Simple as that. We exercise responsibility, discipline, and we know the game. And what that means is I couldn't tell you the last time I only use cash when I get a haircut. And you can tell that I need one right now. I couldn't tell you the last time I used a debit card. And reason being is because credit cards have the ability to give me rewards. That's why I use them. My cash doesn't give me rewards. My debit card doesn't give me rewards. And if there's some type of fraud or something situation like that, and it's on a credit card, they can freeze that money. And it doesn't take any money out of my pocket right then and there. And so responsibility is the biggest key, that I don't believe that people should have credit cards until they feel that they're responsible enough to have them. And my other opinion is making sure that when you are using a credit card, that you have the cash equivalent, because I only spend on my credit card to the equivalent of cash that I have. If I was going to buy this in cash right now, I will then not use my cash and then use my credit card to get the reward and then pay it off with the cash that I have. But it takes responsibility to be able to exercise that piece.
I would say, Reese, excellent suggestion. You can make money. You mentioned discipline, but what's most important, when you're in your 20s, do not screw up your credit. And it's very easy to do. I don't know if you've talked to students about how important it is to maintain good credit, especially when they're young, because it takes so long to repair it. So you get that credit card, they give you the limit that's way beyond your means. You get it up to that limit because you got $1,000 and you can go out and buy clothes or your Coach bag or whatever the deal is, and you won't be able to pay them what they want, their minimum amounts. But that's the scam. Talking about scams, if you just pay the minimum, you say you owe your credit card company $1,000. Right? And every month you get a bill and the minimum payment is $12 or $14. Oh, I can take care of that. Over the course of time, for that $1,000, you'll pay up to $10,000 back for just paying the minimum. 10 times what you borrowed or what you used. So
yeah, don't get me started on the credit card hacks. And that's why they hate us, is because we know the game, right? And that's why we encourage the cash to card equivalent, to make sure you're not getting played, you're playing them. But we also understand it's way bigger than just that right there. So with that, I'll also tell you, if you're ever interested in a one-on-one money mindfulness coaching session with Old Money, Terry, or myself, I'm going to throw in our EDI Cares app, and we would love to have a session with you, not only just to talk about money, but to just talk about your future and your education plan. So I'm going to throw that application in here right now. And then Terry, if you want to look at some of these questions. We still have some more time, and I'll throw the app link in there.
See, what if you pay the minimum and you can afford to pay the whole amount? If you can. No, what if you pay the minimum payment until you can afford to pay the whole amount off? Well, I mean, obviously that's fine too. I mean, the best thing to do is pay it all off. The best thing to do is not charge something you don't have cash in the bank for in the first place, because the whole point of this is not to pay interest. But certainly as soon as you come into the money to be able to pay it off, you want to do that. You do not want to be have what's called revolving credit on a credit card. You want to have basically just that static where you just paying it off every month. I forget the actual term for that, but revolving is when they start then charging you interest from the day you purchase it. Right now, I'm in a situation with credit cards because I pay it off. When I purchase something, I have a grace period, and for the next 3 weeks of that month, I don't have to pay it. For the next 2 weeks, when my bill comes and when it's due is another couple of weeks, then I pay it. And so that's about 5 weeks maybe from a purchase to a payment. And it's not that I don't have the money. I do have that money, but I'm making money off my money on those 5 weeks that the bank doesn't have it, for one. Two, when the bank gets it, they get exactly what I charge. There's no interest on those 5 weeks. Now, if you have revolving credit, as soon as you charge something, that's just part of your balance, and it just adds on every month, and it becomes kind of a pain as far as, Instructor Boulware said that it never goes away. It just continues to add on there. And so certainly the credit money that we make, like Reese and I do, as far as 5% here and whatever, that is great. But if you're paying interest, it mitigates and takes away all your gains from that extra stuff there. One thing I do with credit cards, if I'm going to go buy something at Lowe's, okay, I will use my rewards at like Discover card to get a credit card or a gift card. I can use my rewards. I can take $40 and get a $50 rewards card, okay? Because I get a lot, I send my water bill, everything goes through my credit card. So I have all this money stacked up as far as rewards. And so I'll go get my $50 Lowe's card, and then I'll go to eBay and I'll buy, if I can't find it, if I can find it somewhere, great. But let's say I can't find it, I'll go to eBay and spend $2 for a 10% off Lowe's card. So now that I've bought a Lowe's card that is 20% off already because they added $10 to it. So I got a $50 card that I spent $40 in rewards. So really I've spent no money on this thing. The $10 gift card comes in the mail. I go buy my $500 new stove, and I save 10%. So I'm going to save another $50 from the coupon that I found. You buy it on sale. So basically everything you want to do, make sure it's connected. Make sure that this is the way you go to acquire this, and then this is the best way to spend it.
So here's another thing though, that will bring it all the way back down to, but what if I can't even get credit, right? What if I can't even get approved? That's a question that I know some people ask, is how do I even get approved in the first place? And that's something, again, that we could talk with you about in a one-on-one session, because everybody's situation is different. But the other part too is somebody asked this when it comes to the revolving piece. And then Professor Burrow brought this up about your credit score. Your credit score will only be impacted when you miss payments. So let's say that I charge $100. I'll just use a really low number. Let's say I charge $100 and the minimum payment is $10. If I stay on top, right, of making those minimum payments, it doesn't necessarily negatively impact my credit score because it shows I'm making my consistent payments. If I miss payments and then I get negative marks, and so that's where, if you're making those payments until you can pay it off, because here's the reality, we're in a pandemic. That's the first thing, right? So not everybody's money is exactly where they want it to be right now. So I don't want to act as if we're not in a pandemic, as if financial aid is not acting funny as well, as if we're not still waiting for the stimulus checks to come through. There's so many different things that I want us to make sure that we're keeping at the forefront of our mind. And so if you have to utilize a credit card to stay afloat right now, then do what you have to do to make sure that you and your family are taken care of. And it's totally fine if you have to make a minimum payment to get yourself through and to make sure you're using your your credit card, because there's ways that you can make sure your credit score doesn't really get impacted. So if you have access to a credit card and that's your only means to be able to stay afloat right now, do what you got to do. Make sure you tap in so we can give you some information on how you're able to still effectively scale and not allowed to impact your credit score. And then once your credit score builds during that time frame, because they want to see you using it. So that's a part of it, not to just have it. If you have a card and you don't use it, then they cut those cards off sometimes. So there's a lot of conversation, around that. But I definitely want us to make sure that you guys know that we understand, right? We're in a pandemic and that everybody's money is really funny right now, this specific time frame as well. And there's highs and lows when it comes to the credit conversation as well. And somebody threw that in the chat, like, yeah, it definitely does seem like a scam. It is the ultimate scam when you don't know how to play the game.
Yeah, as far as credit cards and everything, certainly a secured card is a good way to start out. That's where you actually take $500 of your own money and secure it with a bank where they give you a credit card and you have a limit of $500. And so really you're using a credit card with your money. But what that does is that builds that, credit for a credit score, because some people don't have a credit score. After a year or so of doing that, you certainly can then ask your bank to change it to a kind of like a normal credit card. Do you have recommendations for a good secured card? Any bank, I did this with my kids. They didn't have any, any history of any credit. And so we walked into the bank. It was Boeing Employees Credit Union, and we just asked for it, and they asked questions, and he had a savings account there, and they just basically take $500 out of your savings, and you just can't use that, and that is part of the secured card. And so that's kind of how that works. There's something else Reese was talking about just briefly that I was going to mention too, and it kind of escaped me here. My other point.
So to that point too, if you want specific, intentional, like focused on you help through walking through these steps, I threw it in the chat. I'm going to throw it in there again. You have further questions and you want to get help through the next, quarter, your next couple quarters at Pierce, tap in with us and we would love to sit on a Zoom with you and help walk you through some of these situations. We'll definitely tell you areas that we are not expertise in, and we're not going to give advice on something that we feel like we're not able to, which taxes is kind of a big one. Like we're not trained in taxes, but we can point you in the right direction when it comes to that. But a lot of other stuff is just about knowledge and knowing knowing how to build up the responsibility in yourself, knowing you're worthy, especially Black and brown people and poor white people. Like historically for us, this isn't stuff that was given or easily taught to us, right? You hear the term generational wealth. That's really a lot of, for us, we are the ones starting that. And so, like I said, if you have further questions, please fill out that application. But as we wind down to the end of the show, Professor Boulware, I wanted to hand it back to you and see if you had any other closing thoughts.
And no, I think if you listened, you got a bunch of good advice today. And one just came from Reese, and that is see this as a game. But if you see it as a game, you got to learn the rules. You got to know how to play, right? So if you out here and you want to play the game and you're not sure of the rules, talk to Reese, talk to Terry, talk to someone who's played the game, knows the rules, and you can get through it probably as a winner. So that was just great advice. My key advice, I think, was don't be stupid and greedy, and do your due diligence. Now, Terry he had a lot of messages about making good decisions. Is why part of this was called ethics, because that's what ethics is making good decisions. Terry, what is your number one advice you're giving to the people who came today?
Yeah, making good decisions, and to make a good decision, you have to do that research and talk to other people. And that's kind of why I didn't buy that car just without getting another opinion. You know, I felt that I didn't have that at the time. And I still can't really go into a car dealership and do that. I would do that again, you know? And so, yeah, the best advice is, you know, talk with friends about money. A lot of people never talk about money. It's just, you know, kind of this thing that, oh, we can't talk about money, you know, or whatever. Hey, you got to talk about money, because how are you going to learn anything if no one ever talks about it? And so I think that's kind of a thing that people really do need to get together and talk about. Hey, you know, what do you think about this? And then read books, read articles, you know, go to different money management websites and learn. There's lots of places to learn these things. And so the internet is full of a lot of information. Obviously, some of it is bad. Don't listen to everything, because they might take you down the wrong rabbit hole. But at the end of the day, there are some good websites out there. You know, Yahoo Finance, you know, is one, and just start learning things is really good advice. And then, of course, click that link, hook up with Reese and I, and we certainly can help you where we can. And if not, point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and the last thing that I'll say is, remember, you're the brand. You're the brand. You're the real MVP in your life. And so there are going to be people and places and things that want to, you know, hire you, whatever that may look like. And so you're in school right now to elevate your brand, to increase your personal network. And so remember that you are the commodity. And so as you're doing anything, remember, you are the real MVP, and you're worthy of being able to have more. Whatever your more is, you're worthy of it. And so I just threw it in the chat also just now. I drop weekly videos. I do some coaching as well on money mindfulness outside of here. So if you want to follow on IG, feel free to follow that, on purpose development, money mindfulness coaching, and then a couple of just other motivational pieces as well. And then if you want to meet with us again on education planning, click that link and send us a message, and we will be sure to reach out to you. But Professor Boulware, we will definitely have you back for that that identity theft, because that is huge. And any other topic, because you brought the heat today. My favorite quote that I got from you is, don't be stupid and greedy. And then also see it as a game and learn the rules. So I want to tell you, thank you for being here. I want to tell your class and everybody else, thank you for showing up. We had pretty good attendance today, and we look forward to hearing from you all in the future.
Thank you all.
Students, the magic number is 143. Did everybody hear me? 143, all of my students. Remember that number, and it'll be good things. It'll do good things for you. 143.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Ari. Thank you, Professor Boulware. Appreciate you.
Very welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys. Stay great.
Stay great. Stay focused. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
People still here. I like the way you guys handled that. Now I got a feel for it. How you can take anything anybody says and get it around to some really good advice